it's RKA, and I just got back from a 36-month brand archetype workshop where I discovered that my brand archetype is the drunken bachelorette. I'm so excited about this, guys, because this means that my next few blogs are going to be all written in run-on sentences, punctuated by you guys, kind of like this, like, hey, you guys, thanks for coming to my blog. This is so fun, isn't it? I love brand personalities and archetypes and stories. And you guys, this is so crazy. I can't even believe it, you guys. Wait. I can't do this. This isn't me. The drunken bachelorette isn't me. I'm going to have to go to another 36-month brand intensive and figure out what my real brand archetype is, guys. I'll see you later. JK, hey, it's RKA, and this is another episode of Awkward Marketing. Marketing yourself is awkward, but we gotta do it anyway. So let's do it together. I'm your fearless leader, and today the name of the game is stop wasting your time with brand archetypes and do this instead. I'll tell you what this is in a second. Them's fighting words, am I right? I got so many friends and colleagues who work in the branding space who are all right now probably being like, what are you doing, RK? Wait a minute. Brand archetypes are a thing, and they are important. Who are you right now? And number one, I would say I'm the rebel. So that's, just going to throw that out there. But I got to come clean. I'm not actually a brand archetype hater. I don't actually think that brand archetypes are worthless. But what I do think is I see a lot of small business owners making mistakes around the brand archetype story, right? Or the brand story, or the brand personality, or brand voice. I see some common mistakes that are wasting people's time, holding them back in their businesses and keeping them from making money and bringing their business forward. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. I wanted to bust open some of these myths. And at the same time, before I get started into this, I'm not actually a brand archetype hater. In fact, I do talk about brand archetypes and brand personality as part of my process when I'm working on design and strategy with my clients. But I see so often the number one problem I see with brand archetypes and the brand personality discussion is brand procrastination. Yes, that is when you procrastinate with your brand. So I joked at the beginning of this episode, I'm like, oh yeah, I just got back from a 36-month brand archetype intensive. And it might sound like I'm exaggerating, but I have seen so many small business owners spend years literally agonizing over but what is my archetype though? Am I a Sassy Penguin or a Brooding Lumberjack? Who am I in this world and what does it mean for my business? And they get all caught up in that. They go over and over again, their brand story. They're constantly in their head about what is my brand personality. And really what they're doing is procrastinating from actually being visible, doing the work with their clients, getting in front of their clients with marketing messages, and they're brand procrastinating. So that's the number one mistake that I see people do. The other thing that I see people do, referencing that 6-month brand archetype intensive that I just got back from, is they like to go off into a corner, kind of close their ears and their eyes and be like, okay, I'm just going to focus on my brand personality, brand archetype. Who am I? What am I? Sage, hero, innocent, romantic, And I got to tell you, well, here's why I think this is a mistake. This is how I describe a brand. What is a brand? And this is a big question, but this is how I describe brands to my clients. Your brand ultimately comes down to what do your customers or your clients feel about working with you? What do they remember about working with you? What did they say about working with you to their friends? After they've worked with you, what do they say about the experience? What do they come to expect from working with you? And what do they know to be true about you and your services and how you serve your clients from working with you? So as you can see, as I just kind of described how I like to approach branding, the whole name of the game here, it isn't about you, it's about them. Your brand is not a performance. So often I see, with the brand archetype discussion, people putting on brands and archetypes like a costume. I'm just going to perform this for people and hope that it lands. Megan says she's such a brand procrastinator. Aren't we all, though? If it's not this, it's something else. Because people don't just brand procrastinate with archetypes and personality and voice and all that good stuff. They also brand procrastinate around with colors and fonts. Do you know how many times I've been, working with a client and, they've gotten to the point where they want to, get super specific about, like, what about this color gray or that color gray? Or maybe we can just tweak it up a notch or, like, bring it back on down. That's brand procrastination right there, folks. Because we all know that the exact color of gray that you use in your logo is not going to make you more money or lose you money, right? So that's an optimal example as well of brand procrastination. And so with brand archetypes, I see that too. I see this massive brand procrastination around archetypes and people getting really in their heads about, like, which one am I? And then they never actually get in front of their clients. It's a way of holding themselves back, because I'll just wait until I've really zoomed in on my brand archetype, and then I'll start trying to tell a story to and with my clients then. So I said before that a lot of people approach this kind of like a performance. I'm going to perform my brand for you as if, and when you're performing, I will say I got a little experience in the theater. When you're performing, you don't really see the audience. You're not interacting with the audience. You're there doing your thing, hoping it lands, and that's it. But your brand and branding is not a performance. It's that you do for your audience. It's a dance you do with your audience / your clients. It's something you do with your customer. And so that's the number 2 kind of big mistake that I see with people who are getting so in their head about brand personality and brand archetypes, if you will, is that they're not taking in mind that this is a dance. This is a back and forth. This is about relationship. Your brand ultimately is about the relationship that you create with your clients and your customers. And so, the third thing I would say I see people doing, big brand mistake is they'll go to a quiz or a course or a workshop or a brand strategist, and they'll go to that person, they'll say, tell me what my brand is. Tell me what my archetype is. Tell me what my brand personality is and should be and how I should communicate that with my audience. Natalie Taylor of The Missing Ink, like one of my favorite copywriters of all time, know that because I probably mention her every other week. She just wrote a slamming blog post this week all about brand voice, which is totally in the same vein here. And she, came clean and said, guys, I got to tell it to you. Brand strategists and copywriters are not magicians that can just create a personality for you and be like, all right, here's what it is. Just go do it. Just go perform it. Just go be that sexy penguin. Embody the sexy penguin. Just live the sexy penguin. No, a great copywriter is not going to invent a personality for you. A great copywriter or brand strategist is going to help you discover the relationship that you're already building with your clients. And so, all right, without being too much of a hater, I can see, and I do see, and I use this in my work, the validity and the value of brand archetypes. However, especially when you use them, as to reflect and to clarify, okay, now that I know this about myself and the relationships that I have with my clients and my customers and what they value most about me and what they remember about me and what they expect from me, these are the different ways that I can kind of solidify that. And here are the ways that these archetypes can be expressed through story. Right? So brand archetypes in themselves are not worthless, and I don't hate them, but I hate them when they're used as a form of brand procrastination and when people try to figure them out or define them in a vacuum, right? Like, I'm just going to close my, it's just me, myself, and I figure, this is a dance. It's not a performance you do for your customers. It's a dance you do with your customers. So, this has all been a big build-up. I've told you what the mistakes are. I've told you what the red flags are. All right. So if I'm asking you to stop wasting your time trying to figure out your brand archetype, what should you do instead? And there are 3 key steps that I want you to take. Now, I got to be real with you. The 2 things that you're going to need going into this exercise are going to be clients and content. If you're a brand new baby business owner and you don't have either of these 2 things, well, Guess what? I want you to find some clients and I want you to start creating content. And then I want you to go back and start doing some reflection on your brand personality. So that's the first thing I'm going to tell you guys. I hate to say it. You know, if you're a baby business owner and you've never had a client in your life and you've never created a piece of content in your life and you've never been visible for an audience before and you're just starting your business for the very first time, your first step is not to take a brand archetype quiz. It really isn't. I mean, if you do that, you know, for a couple of minutes for fun, kind of put it in your pocketbook, you know, and let it marinate there, cool. But if you're spending months or years, if you're spending thousands of dollars trying to figure out your brand archetype, you're wasting your money and you're wasting your time. So that's my tough love for y'all today. So, all right, going into these tips for what to do instead with the supposition that you already have clients and you already have content. So the very first thing that I want you to do is I want you to ask your clients. I want you to ask your clients number one, what would be the adjectives that they would use to describe you? So we want to get them talking in adjectives here, right? Are you quirky? Are you funny? Are you a leader? Do you know what adjectives are? That's me. My brand, people who love my brand know that I just don't even know what an adjective is and I can't pull one out of my butt in the middle of a Facebook Live. I'm kidding. I joke. But you know what I'm saying? You want to go to your your five best clients and you want to ask them what adjectives would they use to describe you. So that's number one. Number two, you want to ask them why did they choose to work with you? Right? Why did they choose to enter that relationship with you? And the more specific that they can get in their answers with examples, the better. You want to ask them, what is the best? I want the best. I want the number one best outcome that these 5 of your best clients got from working with you. That's your first step. Is you're going to go to your 5 best clients and you're going to ask them, what did they see in you? What did they remember about you? And this is another one. This is a great one. So let's add this in as your 4th question. You want to ask them, if they were going to refer you to a friend, how exactly would they describe you to a friend, right? And so, obviously when I say these are your best clients, we want you to be asking your best clients because number one, they're going to be a good they're a good reflection of the type of clients that you want to have in the future. And also, hopefully, you've developed an intimacy in a relationship with them so you can ask them these questions and count on them to give you a true, honest answer. So that's your first step here is you're going to ask your clients. The second step you want to do is you want to audit your content. And this is where a really good brand strategist or copywriter can come in because having someone, even with the client testimonials that I just mentioned, having someone who can come in and help you to look at the body of work you've already created, look at the content you've already created, whether it's videos or, watching all of your videos, looking through your old blogs. You want to audit your client and your content, and you want to look at 2 things. Number one, you want to look at, of all the content that you've created, what is the content with the most engagement? Okay, because that's going to give you a really great insight into the parts of your brand personality, because you already got one, by the way, guys. This whole thing is that you already have it. And we're trying to discover it and make sure that how your clients are perceiving you is how you want to be perceived and the personality that you want to be embodying in the marketplace, right? So you've already got this brand personality. That's the secret here. That's the trick. But so you want to go back through your old content and you want to audit it for what are people engaging with most? And then what is the story that this content tells? Right? And so, and yeah, just like we want to be asking our 5 best clients, yeah, we want to find our 5 best pieces of content and figure out, how are people engaging with it? What type of engagement are they having with that content? And what is the story you're telling in this content? And so those are your first 2 steps. 1, 2. Then your third step is we've got ask, audit, and now we have adapt. Because now, yeah, we want to take a step back and we want to ask ourselves, okay, now that we've seen, because there should be some threads here. You should see some consistency. If you don't see consistency, well, then you want to keep working with clients and keep creating content so you can try to find some patterns. But you want to look at these patterns. You want to look at the things that are coming out of, okay, I got my 5 best clients. This is how they describe me. This is why they've chosen to work with me. Does this line up with the kind of business that I want to build? Does this line up with my strength zone and where I feel really great and where I'm in my like flow and I'm doing my best work in what I want to do? Does this line up with how I am trying to put myself out there in the marketplace? Does it coincide? If it doesn't, then we've got a problem. Who your brand is in your head is not how it's being perceived by your clients. And that is a problem because, as we talked before, a brand is not a performance you do for your audience or your customers. It's a dance that you do with them. So after your audit, if things aren't lining up the way that you want them to, well, then now it's all about adapting and shifting how you're being visible in the marketplace, how you're creating content, how you're storytelling with your marketing. And it's about adapting so that you can get closer to the kind of business you want to be. And then, of course, this is an ongoing process. Going back to the mistakes that I see people make around the brand archetype is they'll go and they'll take a quiz or they'll do a program, they'll do a workshop, they'll work with a strategist, they'll figure out their brand archetypes or their people's brand archetypes, and then they box themselves in. They're like, here it is. I've got an archetype and this is what I'm doing now. No matter what, this is me. And every time they create content, every time they're visible in front of their audience, they're second guessing themselves. They're like, but is this really what the hero would do? Am I being consistent with the creator right now? And they think that it's a static thing. Like you go off into a corner, you figure out your brand personality, and then you just do it and it's over. But your brand story, your brand personality, even your brand archetypes, that's going to be an ever-evolving process. Your story is one that weaves over time. And when we think about children and how they develop their personalities, when you were a little kid, you were just like coming into yourself, figuring out, who am I in this world? Who do I want to be? You certainly didn't go into your room one day, sit there for a couple hours and really figure out, this is the personality I'm going to have. And then everything you did came out of that decision that you made. This is who I'm going to be now. Your personality evolved over time. Your personality evolved over the course of relationships. And some parts of your personality may have phased out over time. I was a hyperactive youth. And now you can see I'm very sober, very calm, very mature, sophisticated, if you will, in my old age. I left that wacky, hyperactive part of my personality behind. JK, J to the K. I know you're like, oh, wait a minute. This isn't. No. But when children are developing their personalities, when we are developing our personalities, this isn't a one and done thing that happens in one sitting and then we're done and that's my personality and boom. This is something that evolves and is going to come out over time. And you're going to get closer and closer to being aligned with the brand personality that you want to have in this world as you go on in business. So you'll notice that none of this is a circle. This is praxis. We want to ask, audit, adapt, and then we want to do it all again. We're doing this process of asking and reflecting and getting feedback from our clients, auditing our content and seeing what kind of a story it tells, what is landing, what is not, and the story we're telling when we are landing. We want to be doing that and then adapting over and over and over again. That's what we want to be doing instead of taking another quiz about whether you're a penguin or a lumberjack, right? Whether you're woo or hero or la or loot, so that's what you want to be doing. Ask, audit, adapt, continue doing this. This is the process. Marketing is a long game. Your brand is a long game. Your brand is a dance that you do with your customers, not a performance you do for your customers. And that's all I have to say about that. So what I got to tell you is, if you want a little bit more about my insights into preparing, an amazing, unforgettable brand, head to don'thirewebdesigner.com. I got an ebook in there, and yeah, I do talk about brand personality in there. So I'm not a full-on brand personality hater, but I will say, stop brand procrastinating, start asking, auditing, adapting, and do it again and again, and have an awkward, awesome week. I'll talk to you guys later. See you next Wednesday.